once. It's only going to happen once. All I was saying was my guitars have a left and a right label here, but just seeing them, they don't seem as though they're always left and right. And normally, most people would say that it's fine. I don't like my guitars being on the left side and my right side, like if just by themselves. I like balance in my mix. So even if there is a thing that makes sense, I'm still going to kind of like pair them out differently. These things here, these seem like this is an actual left and a right, right? But in these sections, these are not lefts and rights. So I'm going to match those up. I'm going to put all the lead stuff on one of these tracks and then make some decisions from there. This does look like it has a left and a right, so maybe I'll leave this lead thing here, that there, and then call that a day. Obviously here, there's a bunch of stuff that's not a lead, but these are all doubled out. So we'll just try and figure something like that out. I'm not going to get real fancy with any of this stuff. I don't particularly care. I'll figure it out whenever I fine-tune. This isn't fine-tune timing. This is just get it into the right place timing. All right. So guitars are in a good place. I'm not going to overthink that right now. It's not like I'm trying to get real specific with these things right now. I just want to hear enough of each of the things to know that they exist and be able to put them all into a space so that I can make some decisions whenever I fine-tune all this shit on the next pass. And once again, as I am going through top to bottom, I am mixing top to bottom. That's why I organize this way. That's why I put the drums first. That's why I put the bass then I put the acoustics, then I put the electrics. That's the order in which I want to work on this stuff, so that's the order I put it in the session. Now, if you're like a weirdo and you like to do things out of that order, like that's fine, but this is actually a really good starting point for these things, where you can actually look at like drums first, because they take up probably the largest spectrum of frequency. They are the highest highs and the lowest lows. Everything needs to fit in and around your drums depending on how you're mixing a song. So if you are trying to organize your sessions, do the most important thing. Now, I'm not saying drums are really like they just take up the most space and you have to think about them the most, because almost every single time it's what? If you send a mix to somebody, we're going to figure out how to, there we go. If you send a mix to somebody and they have a complaint, 90% of the time, it's either the drums don't hit hard enough or the vocals are not right. Those are the two things that people are like most likely to speak about. So to me, that's why the drums go first and that's why the vocals go last, because we're starting with the drums to get the whole big spectrum, and then we're going to make them sound great, and then we're going to put the vocal last, because that's like the last thing you should be considering, like get everything right, and then that's the last thing to worry about is that single thing. So we got our organization, our color coding, all this stuff. Somebody asked what I'm drinking. I'm drinking Knob Creek whiskey. It's a rye, technically. Rye is rye whiskey. There's a thing about whiskey, and let's just say this real quick. Like, I will refer to whiskeys by all of their names at any given time, and I don't care. I don't care what anybody says. I don't give a toot, you know? People who gatekeep anything about alcohol are the weirdest people. Anybody, if somebody is like, your whiskey is the worst whiskey, I would never drink that. I may have an opinion, but I'll still drink I'll drink toilet water if it gets me a little bit drunk, you know? Like, I don't care. As long as it's doing its job, you know, at the end of the day, like, really it's about how it tastes coming back up, if we're going to be honest, right? How good is it the other direction? Then we can have a conversation. All right. So, yeah, no gatekeeping ever in history. I hate it. There was a great organization sequence. My organization sequence, as I was saying before, is generally just drums, bass, acoustic guitars, electric guitars, those types of things, and then organs, keys, etc., and then vocals. like all instruments and then vocals, which was something I wanted to bring up because we have not in this session yet, I realized as of last week, we have not sent all of these. We have made sub mixes for all of these things. We have an electric guitar mix, we have an acoustic guitar sub mix, we have a drum sub mix, but all of those are just going to 1-2. Now is the moment specifically where I'm going to take all these things. In fact, I'm going to take all of these things too. Even though I'm going to do this again in a second, principles, I'm going to go right here, new track. This is something that drives me absolutely insane. I cannot stand when people don't do this. It makes me crazy. If I open up a session and I see bus 3132, bus 12, bus 78, bus 910, I'm going to lose my mind on one of y'all. I am going to find you in your studio and just, until your face is a bloody pulp. Because why can you not just name your bus whenever you send it? Name your buses. Name your buses whenever you make your shit right away. As soon as you make it. New track right here. Name your tracks. Oh my God, you guys, like this bus 3132, what does that tell me about anything? Anyway, we're sending this all to an instrument track, which will be all of our instruments. I'm going to capitalize everything of instrument. I'm going to spell it right one of these times, right? Bam. And I'm going to put stars on either side of it. My stars on either side, whenever I do this, help me so that I can instantly identify this track. Because I want to, at all times, see and keep track of, right here, this is where my instruments end. Right here. Now, I used to have a friend who did this as well. He would call this, like, instrument, right? And this would be his track. And he would make this a color that no human being of any intelligence would ever purposely color their track, right? Like this color, like a pink here, like a really ugly pink color. Well, that doesn't help because I actually just did that. I just used that color, so I guess that's not. Anyway, I guess use a color you don't use or whatever, and then only use that color for this, and then do this across the whole track. And now at all times you can see this is the end of my instruments. This is where my instruments end, and this is where my vocals begin. I don't like to do that because... yeah, it is pretty perfect, actually. It's a really good place. Now, he would do something like, I think what he would do is he would make it have, like, no output, or he would, like, call it, like, he usually did stuff like this, like, bus 2930, and then he would just rename it Nowhere. And then he would make this track inactive as well, or some shit. And then forever, like, I don't know, like, or maybe he didn't. I don't know what the fuck he did, but that was, like, his thing, was, like, he liked to have a real solid, nothing goes past here type thing, right? Which, fine. That is cool if that's what you want to do. I just do this on this one. Just get rid of that. I just do it like this. I know I can find my instrument track, and I don't worry about it. So this is my instrument track, and then my next thing is I will make a vocal sub-track. These will all go to a similar thing. New track. Star, star, star. All. I won't do the L's. Vox. Holy crap, I'm horrible at typing sometimes. I'm just so impatient. All Vox, all of my Vox are going to there, and then both this Vox and this instrument channel are both going to the same output 1-2. So now I have my master. I'm going to make this, I'm going to make this inactive real quick so I don't have to look at it. Now I have all of my instrumental up here, all of my vocals down here, both of them going to a bus. And as I add and change things, like for example, right after this, I have a harmonium, a piano, a voices, and an organ track. The organ track's happening the whole time, but these things are only happening for the outro. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call these keys and effects because that's what they'll be. And then now, since I have this, I will send this as well to the instrument track. Bam. Done. Easy peasy. Also, if you did not notice the way that I did that, I select this and then I just start typing INST in the search. You don't have to click anything, do anything. You know what the name of your bus is. This will improve your speed like 600% if you start doing stuff like this. If you're naming where things are going to, right? And then say, I made a new track here, right? I made a new keys track. I doubled this. I did whatever. It's a new keys track. This is going to a new keys track. Now, instead of clicking and then going to bus and then looking for the old keys down here at the bottom, all I'm doing is clicking the output, pressing KEY. It already shows up on the screen. It's right there, ready to go. Bam, keys and effects, enter. We added that to the new track. Little things like this, people think there's some sort of magic trick to getting to like being ultra fast at TikTok. Freudian slip of mine. People think there's some sort of secret trick to getting ultra fast at Pro Tools. Getting ultra fast at Pro Tools is literally about finding the best ways to do things and then doing them that way every time until they are mentally locked into your brain. Right? If I were to add a new group over here and I needed to do another, I'm going to do, here's a great example. I'm going to do right now for the electric guitar, I'm going to do a room reverb, right? New track, guitar, room, verb, type it all out, no problem. It's all ready to go. Stereo, create, click this, INST. All right, so this is not making my point because I'm not typing well, but the point is INST, click there, bam, we are done. That is it. That is all it took. Took 3 steps to make a reverb. Now, obviously, I got to put a reverb on it or whatever. And there's ways to improve on this too because I use my Stream Deck. It's just using my Stream Deck doesn't give you guys the advantage of seeing any of that stuff. So I do the Stream Deck so that you guys can actually, or the old school way so that you guys can actually watch it happen. But if I was doing this, yes, Jay, what can I help you with? Yeah, didn't I give it to you already? This one. Here you go. Oh, and here. Here you go. Jay's here. He's getting his drive. All right. Now you can get the fuck out. So actually, for this, I wanted a room. Again, if I want to find something, I just type it in. I don't screw around waiting forever trying to find stuff. I'm really recently onto this Narcissus and Sulaco and Nostromo. I have no idea what these are, but they sound great, man. I love these room reverbs. They sound really cool. But anyway, if I was doing that, that's the type of stuff I would want to do. All right, so we got all that. We got the organ that we just put in. I'm just going to quickly listen to the organ and find a good space for it. Maybe add some EQ, find out if it needs anything, which it usually won't. And I am not going to mess with any of this outro stuff. This stuff is so irrelevant to what we're doing right now. If you have something that you can quickly identify, oh, that's an outro piece, well, guess what? Either the whole song changes there to accompany what's going on there, or that is added on to what is already going on in the rest of the song, which means this is irrelevant information. You need to get the base of the song right before you even worry about any of this other stuff. So this is the last thing I'm going to worry about or even think about for the time being. We are going to have a real quick lesson on mid-side EQ because this is the prime place to use a mid-side EQ. When you have things like keys, organs, pianos, things that have a lot of information that is directly in that human speech center, like the shit out of these, like the lives, do your lives, like the lives, like the lives. Anyways, when you have those things that are directly in the space, like keys, oh, all the time, and they're always stereo. So stereo, all right, we want them to not be in what is going to be in the center of this, which is the vocal. Now, in this case of this organ, it only exists with the vocal, it seems like in one spot, all right? The rest of the time, there is no organ happening when a vocal is happening. Regardless, for an organ itself, we don't typically want to hear a lot of organ. Like if this isn't a Tom Petty song, right? It's like most of the time organ is an essence. You're not blasting people in the face with it. So when it comes to like a B3, I basically know it's going to be a space filler that gives you that weird frequency that you really like, but you don't really hear or pay attention to it anytime. So I am going to do mid-side EQ with my Pro Q3. Slam it back over here so we can see. Mid-side EQ with my Pro Q3. All right. I know mid. I know that the vocal is going to sit in here, but more importantly, I know that the part of the B3 that we don't need to hear is right here, right? So we're going to cut a lot of that out of the middle, all right, and push on the sides just slightly higher to compensate. This is how you EQ with a mid-side without getting in the way of yourself all the time. I see people with these crazy mid-side concepts. I have no idea what crack these people smoke in order to get these ideas out of their head, right? It's like, just think about what is only happening in the center, and that is your mid. Think about what is happening independently in the sides, and that's your sides. If there is nothing in the sides that's different, if the sound is the same in the sides, right? Little stereo difference. If there's just very little stereo difference, boosting the sides does absolutely nothing. There's nothing there for it to boost. You're boosting nothing, right? It's stereo independence that makes a mid-side happen. Now, this is a B3, so we know just intrinsically it's going to be pulsing left and right at different times, which means it's going to have independent signals on the left and right. So the mid is the least important part of this instrument. We can cut so much mid out of here, except for the low end. We are going to want the low end probably to exist, because if they play the low end on a B3, they did that on purpose. Most of a B3 sound is up high. Most people don't even feel the need to mic the low end of the B3 90% of the time, because it is all not, but when it is, you need that low end. So just keep that in mind. Those of you over on the YouTubes, you are going to hear a monstrous difference whenever this goes from the mid-side to the... Here, you might just hear a brightness, right? Here, on TikTok, you might just hear a brightness change. But over on TikTok, or over on YouTube, you are going to hear this B3 go from like here in your face to out to the sides, almost instantly. Here we go. We haven't lost anything. We haven't lost any volume because I'm balancing what frequency. It's just different frequencies taking the space in different parts and different sides of that happening. So it's like now we have the sides opening up and getting wider, that thing I hate, because people over here, and it's just, anyways, I ranted last week. I'm not ranting this week. This is different wide. But what we have is that opening up and creating space for a vocal, a lead guitar, anything that we want down the center and to be a prominent thing, we now have space for it because we opened up the middle by getting this mid-side EQ on here. I am a huge fan of this Pro Q3. I think it is probably one of the best EQs that you can use from a beginner to an expert level. This EQ is so good because if you do not understand frequency, it is showing you the frequency while you're looking at it, and it gives you so much information by learning that, and then your brain starts to connect, oh, this was the frequency. This is one of the best ways to learn frequency. Right? People are always like, hey, do I do like frequency training? Like, no, get an EQ like this. Now, the danger, the downside, the bad, is that some of you, many of you, are just going to start EQing with your eyes, right? You're going to start just EQing with your eyes and making horrible decisions. And when you do that, your shit sucks. It just sucks. It's not going to be good. You're going to start doing the shit that people do, which is 600 notches on an EQ. Oh my God. When I see that, if I see more than like 5 or 6 notches on an EQ, I instantly assume that you are absolutely batshit crazy. Every single time. Hey, I don't know what I did, but I got it. Good job over there. People who gave me something that made a noise. Love y'all. I don't even know what I fucking put down as my goal. Anyway, the point is, right, if you're doing a whole bunch of shit on an EQ, you got something wrong somewhere else. Now, granted, maybe you didn't record it. Maybe there's something that you have to do. But every time I have more than 4 or 5 points on an EQ, anytime more than 4 or 5 points on an EQ that I have put on myself, I instantly assume I am screwing something up and I need to drop it. I cut it all. I start over again every single time. If I have more than 2 or 3 and one's not an accident like this one, I am instantly deleting my EQ and starting over again because I have screwed something up. Thank you, Miss Faith. You're awesome. I appreciate you. Here we go. Back onto the screen. Now, let's listen to this organ. It's cool. I'm going to tell you right now, there's no way that that organ sounds as good as it does or could without some saturation to it. I'm going to decapitate it. I like the decapitator. It is basically the thermionic culture vulture, but you can use like 3 of them without your session getting fucked up. So that's what I do. Here it is. I usually turn the mix down. I don't ever really play around with a lot of stuff in here. If I feel like specifically I need to like get in here, but I like plugins that when I open them up and I do 3 moves, they sound exactly the way I want them to sound. And again, this is my first pass, so I am going to come back through and fine-tune all this stuff on the second pass. There is no point on a first pass of my mix for me to start doing fine-tuning on this. It is ridiculous. You are wasting time because then you're going to find out that all of this stuff was a waste of time. You're going to have to move all the shit that you did already. Everything that you do impacts everything else in the mix. There is no sense in getting crazy on this organ right now. It is just put it on to get the general tone, figure out what you need, and then go. Moving on. Yes, someone on the YouTube just said painting your walls to match furniture you haven't bought yet. This is a great metaphor for this. You have no idea what the stuff you have is going to look like. Why are you getting so fine-tuned? It's even worse than painting your walls. It's like buying silverware that matches like the walls that is in the living room that won't have the couch in it yet. It's like you have too many things before you can even get to that point. Why are you even focusing on that? All right, so we have this. Again, not even going to unmute the stuff at the end of the song yet. But don't forget about it. I'm not a forgetter. I look at my sessions. I'm pretty quick. I'm on to Vocal World, right? So this is the first step of Vocal World, is coming up here and figuring out why none of this is going to all Vox, which it should. All bam, all Vox. You see how fast that was to do? Now, normally, if I have more than one channel of a lead vocal, or if I have more than one channel of a lead vocal, or if I have doubles that correspond with the lead, or any of that stuff that makes this more than one track. If this lead vocal is more than one track, I am bussing this together and I am putting this into a lead bus. When it is just one track, I normally just use the shit on the track and I don't go in there. But because this is a all-inclusive learning environment, we are going to bus this to a new track just for principle's sake and also because I might do something different in the future. But you'll see why. So new track, I'm going to call this lead vox. I'm going to immediately bus it to the all vox channel so that this is always my last submix before the master. All vocals, instrument. The only reason I do an all vocals and an instrument submix specifically on bands, but almost always, is because it's so easy at this point, once you get through something, for someone to be like, yeah, man, I love the vocals, but I think they're just all a little bit quiet. That is a perfect candidate for, cool, I'll just do a 1 dB push on the all vocals channel. Or, hey, man, I think the vocals are great. They're just not quite sitting into the track as well. That is a perfect candidate for a Pro Q on the entire vocal channel. Oops, let's just go ahead. Pro dash Q. I do this all the time, by the way. This search function in Pro Tools is astounding. If you are not using this, you are fucking up royally. If you are not using the search function in Pro Tools to find everything that you need, if I was putting on 1176, bam, I just start typing. You click the insert and you just start typing, and bam, there's your 1176s. Bam, done. If that's what you need to do, oh, God. This is actually what I normally do on the instrument bus, is a bus compressor, so I'll just go ahead and do it right now, but I'm going to make it inactive for the sake. But the fact of how fast it is to just do this and then be like, bam, bam, done. I've just made space for my vocal on the whole instrument track. All right, so I am sending this vocal. Oops, I was putting that all on the vocal track and talking about it like the Knob Creek, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, just pretend everything I just said was me putting that on the instrument track instead of the lead vocal. But I am going to put a Pro Q3 on this vocal track, and I'm going to delete this, and I am going to now listen to the vocal for the first time, since I opened the track anyway.
Sitting in a high chair, you will never be found. I see they got girls there, but you will never be found. My own, sitting in the kitchen with the lights on.
Now, some of you would say that the vocal is too quiet and that you need more volume from the vocal. I say balderdash. Balderdash, he says. He says balderdash. It might be a little bit quiet, but really, it's just not loud enough in the right places. So the first thing I'm going to do, and probably almost always do on almost any vocal ever, because honestly, it is shocking how little of the low end you need of a vocal most of the time. I have heard professional mixes, like, definitely, where they are chopping up to like 400 maybe. Like, this much of the vocal is coming off. No BS. I literally think about at least up to like 350, 400, and no one even notices. Once you start stacking vocals, no one notices, right? But I'm going to guarantee at least up to 50, 60-ish, right, on the bottom end of this vocal. The other thing is, no vocal in today's modern professional world, no vocal, zero, none of them ever, right, recorded. I don't care. I don't care if you use a C800. I don't care if you used a 251. I don't care what microphone you use. I guarantee you are not putting enough, like 5 to 7K into this vocal, and maybe above that. Like, unless you recorded through like a 1176 or a 1073, right? Because the 1073 move, if you are recording vocals, the 1073 move is literally just, hello, 12K, give me some.
Sitting in a high chair, you will never be found.
Now, we'll just real quick compare, right, how it sounds just boosting. I just cut 50 hertz and I boosted 12K shelf. And that's it so far. That's all I've done, just a little bit. Listen to the difference between where it sits in the track and where it was before. Here is without.
Sitting in a high chair, you will never be found. Sitting in a high chair, you will never be found.
Almost instantly, you start hearing more of the